Hello, hello, and welcome. Welcome back, my beautiful people. Welcome back. Is Adriana here? And today, welcome back to another episode of Perspective Podcast. It's still in the morning for me. I'm still waking up. My words that doesn't want to come out of my mouth. Anyway, welcome back. Welcome back to Perspective Podcast. I'm your host, Adriana Di Marvel. We were here to dive deep into another incredible journey and another incredible story for all people from all walk of life. But today I have a special story for you, all about resilience and all about how to empower women from a woman that know how to empower her own life by for herself. So let's welcome my good friend and also she's a co-author, but we're gonna speak about that right away soon. Hello, Jessica. Hello. Good morning.
Hello, everybody. Hi, Adriana. Thank you so much.
It's so good to see
I'm
you.
excited.
We've been quite back and forth. It's like we need to catch up, and this is a mode how to catch up through a podcast.
Yeah. This is the best way to catch up and
That's
share. Why keep it to ourselves? Let's share it with everybody else, right?
Exactly. So welcome back. Let's introduce Jessica. Jessica, she's a leader. She's the leading voice of personal evolution. She specializes in helping women to empower them, to reconnect with themselves, because we all need a little bit more of that, to help you to reinvent yourself and to identify and manifest, to create those skills and those shift also that we all need in our life so we can connect even deeper with ourselves. Jessica, she's been featured in so many outstanding podcasts, and also she's a co-author of the book She Is Worthy. Oh boy, we need to talk about that for sure. We need to talk about that for sure. And I know she's all about resilience. She's all about changing our stories that we've been telling it for so long. So welcome back, Jessica. Welcome to Perspective Podcast. It's absolutely my pleasure and honor to have you here. And I would love to start with one of my favorite questions is, what was one of that moments, those times that you felt like, I have to change my perspective of what my story I was telling to myself, so you can create the story that you have and you're living now?
Yeah, I love that question. I love that question because there are so many little defining moments, throughout our journey that like tweak us to like, oh, maybe that's not really how I feel about that, or maybe that belief isn't really true, and so I love that question. Like, what was it that actually got you to like the real light bulb moment, right? And for me, it was actually a very profound moment. I had already been in my journey for a while and already had started coaching women in their journeys at the time. And long story short, I ended up falling victim to an online romance scam. And I was, so basically, these people, like, what I was seeing in front of me was like, I think a certain person that I was talking to, but we know like it was a whole operation scamming, right? From who knows where in the world. And because I don't like to put the fear out there, but like that is some of the biggest fears online, right? Of being online, because we don't know exactly where everybody's coming from. But anyway, so I fell into this romance scam, and thankfully it didn't go on for too long. I got out and had that realization of what was going on sooner than later. And thankfully I had a really good close friend that helped me see that. And so it was that moment of, I couldn't believe, I'm like, how, as as a grown, intelligent, pretty aware woman and a mother, having those instincts as a mother, like, how did this happen? How did I allow this to happen? How did I allow that to even fabricate in my head that this was real, that this was like legit, like, like all the things we let, and it's an example of when you, when you have to go in and do some deeper emotional work, clearing out some more stuff. And obviously there were underlying core beliefs and conditioning and my perspective and my thought of what I thought love was, or um, what I thought I was worthy of, was very distorted. So it really set me back. I remember it like just, I dropped to my knees to the floor, and I think I was on the floor for like an hour, just like, I don't even know. Time is time, right? And I just remember, I'm like, how especially can I get to a place where not only did I potentially put myself in a very dangerous position, but I put my kids in potentially a very dangerous position. And I was like, that was the moment. I'm like, obviously my kids, I'm like, for me, of course, to safeguard myself, but I'm like, obviously something has to change, or this could have ended up, or could again happen in the future, and it could affect my kids, or God knows what could happen. And I didn't even want to think about it. So that was a very big moment for me to be like, okay, yes, I've done some work. Yes, I've done a lot of healing. I've gone through a lot of the core stuff and inner child healing and all that. But I'm like, obviously there's more. Obviously you got to go deeper, and you really need to like not. That's when I was realized you cannot surface level this. You cannot surface level heal and get to where you want to go, or get the results you think you desire. You really have to do the work, like the real dirty, scary work. And people, I know it sucks because we don't want to feel those icky feelings, and it's like it sucks, but it's literally the key to your happiness. It's literally the key to your happiness. So
Yeah, it's so true. We realize that we cannot, we think that we learn from, we learn from other things, but most of the things that we shift our life, we change, is because of those moments where we were like rock bottom, those moments that like a wake up calls, and those are the ones that are not fun. Those are the ugly ones, those are the painful ones, those are the
mhm.
one that you almost allow, sometimes you embarrassed to talk about, but that's where the gold is, no? That's definitely is the gold is. I love, like, you even, like, we were talking about the title for this podcast, and you said happiness is homemade. We want to dive a little bit more deep into that, what
Yeah.
that means to you.
So that epiphany literally came to me late last night. I think I sent you over things at like, I don't know, 9 o'clock last night here. And I was sitting in my kitchen. I do a lot of my work just sitting at the kitchen table. And I have an actual sign above my stove. It's kind of like made for like a kitchen. It's made for a kitchen. And it says happiness is homemade. And I was thinking, I'm like, oh, you think about like, homemade cooking, homemade baking, like it's always so much better. Why is it always so much better than like store-bought goods, or the franchise bakery baked goods or whatever? Like, why is homemade so much better? And I'm like, well, because what is it made of? It's made with love. And so I just, that spun in my head of like, we're always in the pursuit of happiness, and we're led to believe we have to find it externally, when really it's within. It's homemade right here. And so that's what I kind of came out with. It was just like, it's like, it was the bigger picture of like, you really, everything is within.
Yeah.
And when you start to nurture that relationship with you, and you start looking within, or whoever you consider, whether it's God, universe, Jesus, like whoever you want to talk to, or whoever your faith is with, and that's within you. And when you start to nurture that relationship, and start trusting in that more than what you've been conditioned, or that's brought into us, fed into us externally, again, a big key. So yeah, that's where happiness homemade came from.
Love that. I love that. That's something that definitely is this analogies when what one makes us understand ourselves and understand what is most important to all of us. And it's true. We're all looking for happiness. We're all looking for be more joyful. We're all looking, but sometimes we look in the wrong places. We look outside of us because that's why, like you said, we've been taught to look outside of us and not inside. I know I was like I find like a joke or something like with God and some, I don't remember exactly, but they were saying it's like uh someone was asking God is like, so we're gonna hide all these things, for people, and then God or someone says like, yeah, I'm gonna hide happiness or the truth of who they are where inside deep in them, because they're never gonna think to look at. We're talking about humans. So it's so
Mm.
interesting because we've been taught to look for everything outside of us, and we forgot that everything is inside of us. Outside is just a reflection of what's happening inside. And until you don't get hit hard, until then you're not able to actually look. And how is this translated to you, like one of the biggest lessons that you had to learn from your toughest experience that help you to literally change your life, change your world? Because coaching and something wasn't something that you did all your life. It came
Oh,
as a result of.
yeah. So my career for 20 years was in the spa industry. I was an esthetician um, in the spa industry. So I was in the treatment room very intimately, a lot of the time with women primarily. And it was through that career and all those conversations and nurturing and caring for them in the treatment room, doing external services, really became a more, like I said, intimate service, just because the nurturing I was and healing I was giving them, but also in the conversation, or I was helping them work through their problems, like the bartender and the hairdresser. But like I just started to realize, like, I knew for a couple of years that I wanted to exit that career. I wasn't fulfilled by it anymore. Like, I had a great career and I loved what I did and I loved making people feel good and look good and all that. But I knew that I was meant to serve on such a deeper level. I knew like something was pulling me away from that in that way, like how I was going with that career, and to be offering, like serving in a much bigger. And I had at the time a friend that already was in the coaching industry, and she kind of held my hand and let me dip my toes in, and we worked together on some projects together and some group coaching. And that's when I got my feel of coaching. And it just kind of, so I just transitioned from the treatment room to online with other women. So and you asked, sorry, biggest lesson. Sorry, what was your question though? It was like,
uh,
what was the
yeah,
biggest
the biggest
lesson?
lesson you had to learn through your own experiences, that now that you pass it on to other women.
Mm-hmm. I think one of the biggest lessons I've learned in life in general, um, how to put it, is really about centered around about not abandoning yourself, about self-abandonment. So like I always tell my story, and I've told my story even in the She Is Worthy book. My first memories of feeling abandoned by my father, and like how that played out, like those abandonment issues that a lot of us have. A lot of us do have. And when really I was putting all the blame, if you will, or onus on the other people doing the abandoning. But really what was happening, maybe not at 3 years old, but like later in life, I was choosing to abandon myself and change who I was to hopefully please them, to hopefully gain their love, to feel like that I'm worthy enough for them. I had to become somebody else for them to accept me. And that was not just romantic relationships, that was for jobs, that was friendships, that was like all relationships, and school, academics, all of it. Um, like I was a real high achiever, and because I was driven to believe that way. And so my biggest lesson was learning how detrimental, how destructive abandoning yourself can be for your life, because it attracts only more of the same situation, because you're not in you. So you can't keep up with a life that isn't meant for you. You can't keep up with a relationship that isn't meant for you if it doesn't align with who you really are, because you're never going to keep up that facade. And it's exhausting. It's so exhausting. Like, I think by the time I got to about, I don't know, probably in my 30s still, I was just like, I'm just done. I'm just done with being like anybody for anybody, and I'm just done. So yeah, so at 40 years old, I retired, and I think that's about, it was before my, just before my 40th that I left my youngest son's father and was really going through a lot of my transitions. So yeah, biggest lesson was, do not abandon yourself for anybody. It's not worth it. It's
So
not worth it at all.
So yeah, I think it's one of the biggest lessons, because it's almost like we carrying other people, like you've been saying, if you've been abandoned in a way or another, then it's almost like you continue to carry the same trauma or the same adversity in your life for yourself. Unconsciously, you keep doing that because of the patterns, because of what we've been taught, because that's the only thing we have known to do. If this is what you see in your parents, this is what you carry as with yourself as well. And unfortunately, we pass on to our children too. But it's beautiful to see that you had the courage and the resilience to be like, no, I'm not passing on this to my children, and I'm ready to change that, because now you do the change not just for yourself, and how this transformation, it's impacting you, but now is impacting your children and the generation that come after, and also how this is impacting your own transformation now is impacting so many people, all the people you are encounter, all the people you talk with, all the people that read the book She Is Worthy, and all of these things that's happening. Let's dive a little bit more deep on how now your work is not just yours. Now it became so many other people that you are there to serve for.
Yeah, exactly. So as a coach, like, like we do this work because like we do what we do because we obviously want the self-fulfillment. Fulfilling your needs is fulfilling my needs. Like when you get into that, like when you are that true servant leader, I should say. Yeah, so this, like, yes, it starts with you. It starts with you, but it becomes such a bigger purpose. This is what we need more of in this world, is people like us and people that are choosing to heal, because that is what is going to change our world. That is what is going to help spin the wheel of fortune in the right way, right? And yeah, I can't think of another word, but it's so fulfilling to know that by being vulnerable, by sharing everything that I've gone through and what I've learned, is going to have a greater impact than just for myself and my children. Like it's like overwhelming. It's like those heart flutters. It's like, it feels so good. So I had recently, from another podcast I was on, brought me some feedback about, they got someone from another PR or something reached out to them, and they had listened to it was because they listened to my story, and it was because of that they reached out, and that it connected with another story that's going to help impact even further, right? And I'm like, so if I wouldn't have never showed up, if I wouldn't have been open enough and vulnerable enough to share what I've been through and the lessons learned and how to basically avoid those pitfalls, it wouldn't have had this effect. Butterfly, no, not butterfly, but train effect, oh, whatever, the effect,
Yeah, the ripple effect. The ripple
effect. Thank you. Ripple effect. I'm lost for words this morning too. I'm not a morning person, so the fact that we're doing this in the morning is like,
we are true champions. We're true champions.
So yeah, no, it's so amazing that our work is impacting much bigger than I think we even like set out to. And that's incredible. I love it. So I just want to keep doing it. I want to keep
I think
bringing what I
that's
can.
our drive, no? Even in the days when we don't feel like it, even in the days when we are down and we need someone else to pick us up, I think I keep remind myself that, or I actually have in my bedroom, I have on the side of the wall, I have
Mhm.
taken, like, printed all the messages and testimonials that people wrote about how they felt, or what were the testimonial after they work with me. And that is a reminder of me that I'm not doing this just for me. I'm doing this for all these people, because like you said, the ripple effect, these people that are changing their perspective about how they see themselves, how they see life, and now they live their life differently, and that automatically impacting their families, they impacting their relationship with their friends, with the spouse, with the children, everything. So it's so much bigger than we even imagine. So much bigger. And that's something that keeps, it's like in the morning, I'm like, oh, I don't want to, I don't
Yeah,
feel like it. And then I see that and I'm like, it's in my face there. And I'm like, no, I might not want it, but this is not just for me. So I need to better get my butt up and get going.
yeah. It's almost like we take on like a responsibility. It's like once you know that that's the impact you're having, it's like you take it on as a responsibility. Like how can I not show up? How can I not show up anymore? I have to. I have to. Or else what's the point? What's the point of going through all these things? What's the point of me just evolving and learning lessons? Like the whole point is for us to evolve and grow and share and help others evolve and grow. That's the point of us being on this earth, right? In this time. So yeah.
It's the same, like, like back in the days, when as humans, what they used to do, they used to um, scribble their stories on the cave's walls. And basically, this is what we do. There, we not scribbling our stories on a cave, but we scribbling in books, on programs, or podcast. Is the same thing. We still this part of humans to us to relate with each other through stories, and pass on our stories, so they can keep going on, and that those stories to be alive and have a purpose, because I think that's what stories are there, is to inspire people, so they feel like they're not alone. No, it's something that we all need in our lives. And it is sometimes it's not easy. And I would like to dive into this, is when you decided to be a co-author for that book, She is Worthy. I think sometimes it can be scary, because now it's like, you speak in a podcast and it's like, oh, it's just a couple of people, but then you like write a book, you're like, everybody's gonna hear my story. Sometimes can be even terrifying. No?
It was hugely terrifying. Every podcast is terrifying. Like, because you're like, I don't always know, like I don't gatekeep anything at all. And then sometimes I'll go back and I'll listen or I'll read and I'm like, oh, that could be taken in a certain way. but I'm like, I have to detach from that. You have to detach from that. So like if you're gonna do it, you gotta go all in. You gotta detach from whatever outcome or whatever somebody else is gonna perceive it to be, right? My story is meant for the ears that are meant to hear it, right? And that's what I have to go in with. But yeah, it was absolutely terrifying. I had never written before. Get this, my worst subject in school was English. I was always failing English and writing, but then I became a writer. And I want to do so much more in writing. That is one of my biggest goals, is to continue writing more, in many forms. And definitely my own book soon. So, but yeah, when I was presented with the opportunity to write, and I was just like, when it was presented to me, I just didn't even ever think of myself as being an author. I say that, but in my goals journal that I write in every day, I want to be a best-selling author. But like, I wasn't even like, this is our subconscious right there. And so it was presented to me, and I'm like, and it was actually, it wasn't the She Is Worthy book. So it's the She series. It's a series of books. And I was actually interviewing about writing in one of the other titled books, and I can't even remember what it was called, what they called it, but she said, she goes, "Oh, well, we have these other titles." And then I'm like, "Okay, well, send me the description of what the objective is for each of these, like what types of stories." And when she sent me the description for the She Is Worthy, I think it was like courageous stories of resilience, something like, I don't know. It just like the words just spoke to me, and my whole persona that I go by within my business has always been the lioness. Like I call myself like the limitless lioness. That's my thing. And I had a community called the Rise and Roar. You know, it was just everything around the lioness, because the courage and and being a woman and everything that she stands for. And so when I read that description, I was like, that's what my story is. That's where my story belongs. So I'm like, okay, I don't know how I'm going to do this. I don't even know what I'm going to say or what I'm going to share. And I just went through the process, and I just like paragraph by paragraph, like little bits here, and I would just kind of like put them on my phone and then piece them together eventually. And my editor, we had a great editor, or lead author, I should say. The editing phase, that was fun. But yeah, it turned out really, really well. I'm really happy about it. I'm really happy about the stories, and the rest of the stories. So there's 11 women authors in the She Is Worthy book, all Canadian, and they are just all phenomenal stories, all very different stories too. But so I'm not just biased about sharing my own in that book, but it's an incredible, inspiring book that I feel every woman needs to read. Every woman.
Really.
It's just
We
incredible.
will most definitely, we're gonna drop the link for the book in the showcase notes on the description, so people can get a hold of that and get it. And for all the women that are looking for a little bit more inspiration and feel like they belonging to a tribe, they can definitely connect with Jessica as well, and get some inspiration, some help. They can dive a little bit deeper into reading the book as well. So definitely we can do that. I would like to ask you, maybe share, you know, you were talking about how you share your story and some practical tools of how to, you know, change your story and change everything through maybe practical habits, maybe to change your habits, or different tools or exercises that helped you to completely, you know, step by step to change your perspective of how you decide to rewrite your own story and be the limitless lioness. Uh, my
Yeah.
what would be that kind of habits or new tools or things that you helped you, at least couple of, that you want to share with our audience?
Absolutely. One of the first things, like I've been, a personal development junkie forever, but I think it was just really diving into, and I actually hired my first coach, or um, and it was around mindset, and I knew I had to start. It always starts with mindset, and I just kind of knew that. Um, Worked a lot through Tony Robbins programs. His Unleash the Power Within, like incredible. I love Tony. I think, he's the godfather of personal development and growth. And I just think he's incredible.
For sure.
So it started there. Sorry?
For sure. A big of my journey started with UPW as well too.
Oh, nice. There you go. I didn't even know. And so, yeah, I hired my first coach, Craig Siegel. He just got married on the weekend. And we started diving into, what my belief systems were and all that stuff. So doing the mindset work, that was the first thing. That was the first practical thing. Like, find somebody that you connect with. Find someone that can help you dive into the inner work, right? Your mindset work. And then I also hired after Craig, I hired a more spiritual coach, if you will. And I learned from her tools, like it's an EFT, so emotional freedom technique, like tapping. it's her developed technique. It's just a little bit different, a lot more effective than just classic EFT. But just I worked through her program and learned the RRT, rapid relief technique. And that's what I share. I say using that tool, tapping tool. And it is very, very powerful. If you don't know what that is, people, it's you're tapping your emotions literally to release your emotions and that energy out of your body, out of your nervous system. And that's how we start to rewire. You have to release and get rid of whatever isn't serving you, whatever isn't true, and then you can rewire, right? So I worked with my mindset coach, I worked with my spiritual EFT coach, and yeah, I did a lot of that through mentorship and using those tools. A lot of journaling, a lot of I'm very, very connected and into astrology and the moon and the energy of our universe, and I connect to a lot of that. So I did a lot of like full moon releasing ceremonies, and I still do. Like that's just a constant that I like to take part of, because that's when the energies are best for when you are trying to release or trying to manifest something. So I definitely learned a lot of manifesting techniques, and that has brought me to kind of like my own way of doing it. And that's what I also share with people. I'm like, it's such a trendy thing right now. Like everybody's like, oh, manifest, you know, there's so many different techniques. But it really comes down to, and I speak a lot about, is you really have to embody the energy of what it would be to either be that person, have that thing, whatever it is. It all comes down to embodying that, like just like how like an actor embodies a character. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like a well-known example was when actor Heath Ledger became the Joker for the Dark Knight movie. He unfortunately passed away during that time. But it was they all said like he truly became that character, right? So this is kind of the same thing, that same kind of thing we have to do in real life, is we need to fully embody. You want to become and have certain things, you have to embody that energy and become that before you ever have it. And that's what brings it in. That's what brings it in, right? So yeah. So those are kind of like, that's kind of a bit of my journey there. So I started out with, oh, I always have a mentor. Like that is like number one. You can't ride this alone. You gotta have someone that's gonna help you through it. That was a big thing. I had my lead author or mentor for writing. I had, you gotta have those coaches and mentors for everything.
It is true. So so many years I tried to do this by myself. I'm like, no, I can do this by myself. Just read the book and
Yeah.
it's gonna be fine. And I did the course and it'll be fine. And then you realize that doesn't matter. You need someone to look at your story and look at yourself from a different perspective, because when you're in your story, you only see your story from the inside of it. But when you have someone help you to take you out of that story and you can see it from outside of it, it will definitely shift the perspective of how you see everything. And that's when the transformation actually starts. Yeah, for sure.
Exactly.
That's a beautiful conversation. We'll love to have you again. We'll love to continue this, even dive even deeper into this. As we close this, I have 3 fire questions for you that I ask every single of my guests. You can answer as deep or as shallow you want to do, whatever comes to you. So one fire question. The first one is, what is one thing that you do every day to bring you more joy?
Oh, to bring me more joy. I love that. Probably my puppy. Like just walking my puppy and like playing with her brings me a lot of joy. Definitely. She's pretty awesome.
What is Lou?
She's
She's
40.
there? I know
She's right here.
she's around. Yeah,
Yeah, she's right, like she's literally, she always is like right on top of me, like on top of me. But yeah, right now going through heat, she's kind of extra clingy and wants mommy, but yeah, she's just such a sweet girl. She brings me a lot of joy just playing with her. I've always been a dog person. I grew up with dogs.
Yeah.
They do. They bring my kids bring me joy too. Yes. So for the
Yeah.
people, yes. Like with my, but
Yeah.
they're little boys. Let's just say it's more challenging than right now.
For
They're
sure,
6 and
especially
8.
that age,
Um,
they want to become independent now. Yeah.
oh yeah, which is a good thing. Oh my gosh, so helpful as a single parent. Holy moly, I'm so glad they're so much more independent now. Like I just don't even have to do like a lot of the morning routine stuff. Like they get up and they can do it, and they can even get themselves a little cereal if they need to. Like this is great. Every little bit helps.
Yes, for sure. That's awesome. The question number 2. If you could
Mm.
have dinner with any
Mm.
person, dead or alive, who would that be and
Oh,
why?
see, oh, that is really hard question. If I could have dinner, like pick somebody's brain. Oh my goodness. I don't know why, but Delangelo came to mind, and I don't even know why. I
Yeah,
don't. Remarkable woman.
yeah.
I'm just gonna say that because it's just what came to mind for
Yeah,
some
that's
reason.
what
It's
it
so
is.
funny.
Just keep it real and keep it
Yeah,
whatever come to your mind. You can even it's good that because sometimes these questions, because me too, I'm like, and every single time you get answered this question, it might be a different person because depends on what you are in that moment of your life. So it's interesting to even dive deeper later on after this to be like, why?
I'm gonna. Yeah, after we get off, I'm gonna look her up and be like, what was it that I was connecting to that
Yeah,
for some reason I want to have dinner? But like in general, like without putting a name to it, I would choose someone that I believe just has such a beautiful brain and an intellect and is at peace with themselves. And like I would just want to know, you know, about their journey and like their perspective of life. And I think some of the more seasoned, experienced people would be the most gratifying to get to know and have a chat with.
for sure. Yes, it's always interesting to see why sometimes why a person pop up in your mind and be like, oh, now I get it
Yeah, I'm
why.
gonna look it up. I don't know. I'm gonna look it up.
Yeah. And question number 3, what would you hope your legacy to be or to leave?
Like you think about, especially as a parent, you think about, my gosh, if I was gone tomorrow, like, what am I leaving behind for my kids? But in general, like, I just want to, I just want to leave a legacy of that. I didn't, I didn't settle. I didn't settle. I didn't accept what maybe I was only handed. That I chose to take the lead of my own life and change it for my kids. And I'm going to get emotional with this. Holy moly. Right? Um, quick little backstory to that, or root to that, is so I have some Native heritage. I don't know exactly what it is because my mom's adopted and we just don't know that information. Something I definitely want to learn in the future. Um, not so much who the people are, but just the lineage and the actual real history of my lineage. And I just know in that culture, in those cultures, there is a lot of generational stuff that has not been healed, that has not, those chains have not been broken. And I feel like me doing this work and by me taking the lead in my own life and doing the work to find the real truths is going to be like that's the breaking the chains of generational curses. And that's what I hope for, that I'm doing well enough that I break the chains. Yeah.
Love that. I love that. Yes, it's such a beautiful like we said, we don't do this just for ourselves. We do this for so many past generations, and so many, and the people and the kids and the people that come in front of us. It's a big,
Yeah.
it's sometimes it's a big task, but it's so close to our heart, because we know that our little work in this world can impact so many people, more than we even think. And that's why we keep doing what we're doing. No, has been such a
Yes.
beautiful pleasure to see you, to have you here at the Perspective Podcast. Thank you so much, Jessica, one more time for being here. Where people can find you?
Oh, I hang out on Instagram mostly and Facebook. I have a new Instagram page. Like, you can always follow my at truly.Jessica Rae. And I think that's what my Facebook is truly Jessica Rae still. I've had some changes lately, sorry. And but my new Instagram page is more for the women wanting that inspiration, and that do connect with me. And that's how you can connect with me to work with me more, is through the real Jessica Rae. At the real Jessica Rae is my new Instagram. Would love you to come follow and play along.
We will drop, I'm gonna drop all Jessica links in the show notes there in the description. You can find all of them there, and we'll love to, if you something that Jessica said and inspired you, or you want to connect with her to continue this conversation, by please connect with her, show some love. Thank you so much for being here, for sharing your own authenticity, your true authenticity, your resilience, and your story, and how you change through changing your perspective to change your story. So thank you so much, Jessica. Thank you everyone for watching. Thank you for listening and watching the Perspective Podcast. And if you enjoy this podcast, please subscribe, share this with your friends, and also remember, everything in life is just a matter of perspectives. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.